Good morning and welcome to the Gold Goats and Guns Market Report for Wednesday, February 26th, 2020. My name is Tom Luongo, and I hope you are all having a good day. We've got a lot to talk about, and I want to apologize for Sunday. I just reflexively, when I was putting the market report out to y'all, I just reflexively unclicked the $4 option on the $4 tier when publishing, thinking it was like the newsletter or something, which is a mistake. So I apologize for that. We corrected it, and I hope you all got a chance to listen to it, and it wasn't too much of an inconvenience. But thank you to those of you who let me know what was going on so that I could correct the problem. All right, let's get right to it this morning because we've got a lot to talk about. I want to continue to focus on the situation in Idlib with President Erdogan of Turkey. I'm about to sit down after I get finished with my other stuff for Newsmax. I'm going to sit down and write my thoughts about what I think is happening with Erdogan for a financial intelligence report this month, and it's about whether or not I think he's going to last out 2020. And so I'm telling you first because y'all pay me directly. It's just the way it is. So. The situation in Idlib is probably as important, if not more so, than what's happening with coronavirus or anything else. Because the more I think about the way Erdogan could game plan this out, the more I think he can maneuver here. I look at what his options are, and unless his whole fight between him and Russia over what's happening in Idlib is nothing more than a PR stunt. If it's real, then it's potentially ground zero for the outbreak of World War III. And I don't say that lightly, and I don't like saying it. You know that I'm willing to be bold in my predictions about things that, ultimately aren't that big a deal. Like, hey, did Kanye West win us the culture war, or, is Bernie Sanders not going to be the nominee? I mean, come on. And that stuff that's one thing. You make bold predictions on that stuff. And if you're right, you look like a genius. And if you're wrong, well, you read the tea leaves wrong. But what Erdogan is doing in Idlib and what his potential moves are in Idlib are very, very dangerous. And he's a crazy person. And so I'm watching this play out, and I believe that the Russians have this under control. But when you look at the potential resupply of the Russian airbase at Latakia and how important it is for the United States and Israel and everybody else to get the Russians out of there, because how else are you going to stop the Shia Crescent from forming? How else are you going to stop Iran and Iraq and Syria and Lebanon from forming up, a full-on economic and diplomatic alliance? Especially with the new government in Lebanon coming into power, there's been a full court press to destroy Lebanese sovereign debt. There's no longer a Saudi Arabian satrap as prime minister. Hezbollah has not been removed from the institutions of government in Lebanon. So that project's failed. We got regime change in Lebanon, but it was to the betterment of the U.S. and NATO's enemies, not in the U.S. and NATO's advantage. So what a shock that right after that, Erdogan trying to leverage his position, and I'm going to explain this quickly. He has two things in his back pocket. He has NATO Article 5, and he has the Treaty of Montreux of 1936, which gives him control over the Bosporus. He gets to decide how many ships of a particular nation are allowed to be let into the Black Sea at any one time. The United States can't respond, or couldn't respond in 2014 to Russia's moves in Crimea because Erdogan controls how many ships the United States could bring to bear. So if the United States wanted to invade Crimea and start World War III back then, which, by the way, would never have happened, and I've argued this with people behind the scenes. I'm like, you really think that the United States was going to land 5 or 6 Donald Cooks, contingents, the Marine contingents on Crimea to take it away from the 20,000 Russian soldiers that were there? You really think that was going to happen? No, it wasn't going to happen. I know I understand that the Black Sea is incredibly important, and obviously the containment of Russia is still the primary focus of U.S. military and strategy and in many ways foreign policy. So Erdogan controls the Bosporus. He also can attack Russia directly, and Russia can't make any moves against him territorially without invoking Article 5 of NATO. Or at least that's what he thinks. Or maybe that's what he's being told. So a possibility exists with him moving all of this armor to the Syrian-Turkish border that he makes a move against Latakia. And I'm worried about that. Because it's a straight shot down a highway from Hatay province. I can't remember the name of the town now. To Latakia. So, looking at the way the map is laying out right now, there's been a push in central Idlib to push the Syrian army back from Idlib city, which is where most of his Takfiri head-chopping Salafist animals are holed up. And probably this is just more, as much of anything else, a rescue operation. And while he's doing that, and he's pushed west a bit, back towards Sarakib and the intersection of the M4 and M5 highways in Syria, the Syrian army and the Russian Air Force are taking large swaths of southern Idlib and moving the front and collapsing that front back towards the M4 highway. Maybe this is all just kabuki theater. But at the end of the day, Erdogan has a real PR problem back at home. He's got real political problems back at home. The United States isn't backing him in any way. And he's, standing there saying at the end of February, the Russians are going to have to back off in Idlib or I'm going to do something crazy. Well, are you? Or aren't you? And are the Russians prepared for this? Because here's the gig. Without the Bosporus, how do you resupply Latakia? Can't fly over Turkey, because that would be an Article 5 violation if Erdogan gets angry. So now the question is, can the Russians come in through Armenia and northern Iraq? Why do you think the United States has built the Kurds in Erbil under Barzani into a real force? Why do you think we still have our base at Erbil? Why do you think the Iranians attacked the airbase at Erbil in January? We're already at war, folks. World War III actually has already started. The question is whether it's going to continue to be handled through proxies or not. And I don't want to get conspiratorial here. And I want to remain skeptical, but into all of this, we drop coronavirus? Really? I'm hearing from multiple different sources now. Multiple different people are arguing that this is a bioweapon. Let's just focus on it from the standpoint of the disruption to global supply chains, but keep that in your back pocket. I ain't willing to go full tilt boogie on this, but it's something we have to at least consider. All right. So I note with a certain amount of irony, and I don't know, I'm sure many of you already read the article I put up the other day about Bernie Sanders being done. And I believe that. And I find it interesting that Zero Hedge has not picked up that article, maybe because they don't agree with me. That's fine. They publish a lot of stuff they don't agree with, including my stuff. I think Bernie's done, even if he does win the nomination, because no one in power wants him to be president. No one out of power wants him to be president. No rational person wants Bernie Sanders to be president. And I know I have a mostly right-wing libertarian audience, yada, yada, yada. I'm speaking to the converted here. And everybody who thinks they're left-wing thinks that Bernie's going to get them fairness. They're out of their minds. Bernie is a weak person. He may even be controlled opposition. Hillary's getting lazy and frankly arrogant. And now she's saying, oh, I'm willing to be Bernie Sanders running mate. Yeah, well, so he can have a heart attack and you can become a president? Like, no one buys any of this. I don't know if any of you saw the first tweet I saw from Rod Blagojevich after getting pardoned by the president. He's like, I am, by the way, not at all suicidal. So if Blago winds up dead of a heart attack, you know who did it. Containment's been completely breached here. Epstein didn't kill himself. Nobody believes anything that comes out of anybody's mouths anymore. So other than just dispense with the whole charade of actually having an election and just pick our candidates for us and pick our and pick the people and pick the winners. It's what government does anyway. It's all the government does is picks winners and losers. Sometimes they do it through legislations. Other times they do it through warfare, and other times they do it through sham elections. Oh, what a shock! And all of these lies are coming to an end very, very quickly. We can see them. We've talked about it before. It's post-Dorothy Oz, all that stuff. Erdogan is living in a post-Sultan Neo-Ottoman dream. Things are going to accelerate from here. And everybody's going to have a theory as to why the markets do what they do. And everybody will be partially wrong, including myself. So I urge you to listen to everyone on this, including people that we disagree with. Like listening to Peter Schiff say that gold is going crazy and it's now time for the dollar to end. He's out of his mind. He's an idiot. He's a moron. For a guy that smart, how can he be that dumb? I saw that headline the other day. I wanted to choke. I'm like, seriously, dude? Like, your hatred of the United States is so complete that you can't understand global capital flow. Like, really? Like, and you manage people's money. Like, I'm just some schmuck with a Patreon service, and I understand this stuff better than you do. Yeah, your suits may be better, but your analysis certainly isn't. You know, I'm sorry, but stop listening to that guy. That's a guy you can stop listening to because he doesn't know what he's talking about. So on Sunday, I asked the question of whether or not gold was going parabolic. It was something that Martin Armstrong was talking about behind the scenes in his private blogs, and I would have easily had gotten to that decision myself, having looked at the chart that week. I had not read his blog beforehand before putting the charts together. I generally read a bunch of people before I put my charts together, get some consensus opinions, get some ideas about where I think things are. You know, error check my own theories, yada yada yada. When I see somebody, you know, confirming what I already think, that's a good thing. You know, I see people giving me, fine, I'll bring it out. And I'm going to talk to you about one theory that I don't buy of Martin's this morning. It was obvious gold was going parabolic. When we open up on a Sunday evening and I'm getting texts from people, gold at 1680? Wow. Oh my God. I'm like, yeah, that's this. All this reminds me of is silver at $50 and then they killed Osama bin Laden. Like, when that happens, when, you know, normal people start texting me about gold, yeah, it's usually a good sign that we're going to open up on the New York Open is going to get crushed. That we're going to go parabolic into the European and Shanghai Open and then early market. And then when the real volume comes in, they're going to bomb the crap out of it. And they're going to sell billions of dollars in notional gold. And they're going to trash the price. And that's exactly what they did. Going back over the chart, this is the weekly chart. We had the avoided reversal, which allowed gold to hit a peak of around 1690 or so. Fine. It's a nice number. It's as good a number as any. You get within a sniffing distance of 1700 and things always get a little crazy. But let's then back up and look at this. And we look at the monthly chart. And this little move down here isn't all that interesting compared to what we saw in all of February. So is this the beginning of a big correction back down into the 1400 area? Well, we have a lot of work to do, and the possibility of that at the current prices, so we'll see how if Friday closes on gold where we are now in the high 1630s, then these are our pot odds of either going higher or lower. Realistically speaking, with a week like this, if we stay here, this is not very accurate, right? The weekly chart's going to be dominant, but this is a lot of ground for gold to cover, even after it has already traversed $60 from its high, right? That's asking an awful lot to then break another, $75 in March. I just don't buy that. So that's a hard sell to me. Back down into the 1550 area, so another $75, $80. That's a big sell. Okay, so gold is taking some profit off the table. Oh, I forgot to do this as an animation. I'm very sorry. Oh, wow. Okay. Same thing happened in silver. So you can look at the weekly chart in silver. We had this nice, beautiful breakout. We were looking at a move above 1880. You can't see it here on the chart because I forgot to do the animation thing. I'm very sorry. But what's important here is, there's nothing interesting happening now with this move back down, with this crushing of silver from $19 back to below 18. What a shock. Silver just completely collapsed. But again, in the context of the monthly chart, we're still which is far more interesting than the weekly chart, by the way. So in the end, it's not really that big a deal. It is, but because I'm an idiot, but it is what it is. Okay. So I'm just trying to make myself feel a little bit better. We have a nice solid uptrend here in silver that is, I think, relatively constructive, right? This was a very good first wave up, and now we're into a very noisy but pretty solid consolidation period here. That's been going on now for about 6 months, since last summer. It just means that there's a lot of emotion and sentiment shifts happening here in silver. And if there are people who are structurally short silver for whatever reason, for industrial reasons or just for speculation reasons, there's an awful lot of people wanting to be long silver, and again, lower lows and higher highs each time. We have a perfectly reasonable uptrend here, even if it's a little noisy. And the reason it's noisy is because silver should be trading at around $22, and they're holding it down below 19. But it is what it is. They're stealing time from us like they always do, and they think they're winning. But in the end, the longer you steal time from people today, the bigger the bill will be tomorrow. It's always the case. So the more they stymie us today, the more they stymie silver today, the more silver is going to go ballistic in the later stages of this. But it'll be frustrating to watch. It'll drive you crazy. My pulse doesn't even race anymore at this stuff. I don't even get angry about it. It's, whatever. Okay, so I have to wait another 6 months. I'm willing to wait. Because why wouldn't I be willing to wait? Because here's the situation. We're likely not going to get a close on the US dollar that breaks this high here. That closes above this high at 99.67. But again, like it or not, low, high, higher low, higher high. Not by much. Higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. This is a very weak but yet incredibly strong uptrend in the US dollar. Because what this is saying is, this is really a big, huge base. But it continues to push up around, and it's a base being built around an average true range, not a particular high or low. It's being, they're really trying to hold this at the 98 level, 98, 98 and a half. They're trying to just look at the amount of highs and lows in here. And so that's the way I'm reading this. The dollar broke out to the upside the other day, and it was immediately squashed back into the box. There was a dead cat bounce on the euro. There was a dead cat bounce on oil. Neither of those have held. They're starting to turn down. I could easily see the dollar here traversing these 40 pips or so. I think this is about 99.22. There's about 45 pips here. We could traverse before Friday. It's very possible. But even if it doesn't happen, this is still a 2-bar reversal, negating this 4-month downtrend. And therefore, with a higher high and a higher low, therefore, this is constructive, and it's just setting the stage for another breakout higher. Again, the dollar can't rise here. And because it would kill a lot of markets and a lot of people. A lot of people would go broke at this point. And there's a lot of people who don't want to see the dollar rise. So that's where it is. That's where we are. And, the big question is, are they going to be successful or not in holding this together? I don't think they will. I think these are all just instances of coiling and reset. Same thing's happening in Bitcoin. I'm a little upset that Bitcoin didn't hold this level and bounce off of this and start going higher again. But if we get a little deeper correction here than we were expecting, that's fine, as long as we don't break any lows. So we have this, we haven't had this low confirmed yet, right? We came down off of this low. We got this double bottom here. It's a double bottom, so that's a pretty strong base. But at the same time, we've had a nice strong weekly uptrend here. Now we got to find the new stand where the bulls are going to make their stand. And it hasn't happened. It hasn't shown up yet at 9,000. Is it going to be 8,000, 8,200? Is it going to be, 7,500? Where's it going to be? The higher it is, the better it is. So let's watch that for this week. The other possibility is this week's not even half over yet. Possibility is that we get our last stand happen. We get our stand happen, and we still don't close below this low. This is not a reversal signal. So this move down in Bitcoin is not a particularly strong one. Remember, this is not a 2-bar reversal. This is now a 3-bar reversal. And what do I always say about 3-bar reversals? They're not very strong, and they're a coin flip. Generally speaking, most of the energy has already been expended to get the price down to here on the bears part. So now we're looking at possibly bouncing off of, these lows in here or above that. And any bounce off of, bounce higher and reversal off of any price above these two lows in here would be very strong. Because at the end of the day, what is it? It's less than the 50% Fibonacci retracement of the entire movement. That would be great. Okay. All right. The last thing I want to talk about is the Dow. And Martin Armstrong this morning has an article up talking about how the coronavirus is not enough to make capital markets worried. And I'm like, it's all about Bernie Sanders. I'm like, really? Really? No, it's not all. The markets aren't getting the Bernie flu. There is real supply chain disruption happening right now. Is some of it overblown? Is some of it, is some of it, doom porn? Of course it is. Of course it is. But this is not Bernie Sanders won Nevada either. Because no one in their right mind believes that Bernie Sanders can actually beat Donald Trump. And yeah, markets may get a little skittish. Is the Bernie flu affecting the markets? Sure. Is it a factor here? Absolutely. But there's the 900-pound gorilla in the room that oil is trading at $53 a barrel on the world market. Okay? There's the reality that this thing's gone around the world now. And every government's lying about how many people are infected. Did you not notice that this happened at the top of the world supply chains? Like, at some point, I'm sorry. No matter how smart you are, sometimes you outthink yourself. This is the 800-pound gorilla in the room right now. The markets were overvalued. They needed a correction. I mean, let's be realistic here. We haven't had a reasonably and reversible correction in the Dow for a year. We can't have a 2-bar reversal and, test the 26,000 level or test the breakout level from from early last year, the 26.8 level. Like, we need to. That needs to be. The world is worried that Bernie Sanders is going to become president in the United States. Nonsense. No. Like, I'm sorry. That's dumb. It's way too early for that. Way too early for that. We're not even to Super Tuesday yet, where Bernie's not going to do very well. If Bernie does really well at Super Tuesday, okay, the whole thing collapses. All of my theories about Bloomberg and Hillary and all the rest of it collapse. Absolutely. But Bernie's not going to do very well at Super Tuesday, I don't think. I just don't think he's very strong here in the South. I don't think there are enough Austin, Texases and Gainesville, Floridas to get Bernie Sanders the nomination throughout the South. I just don't buy it. I think the DNC machine is a little stronger than that in these states. So, that being said, that's what I've got for you this week. Maybe I'm in a little bit of high dudgeon. I got a lot of stuff to do coming up to get done before the end of the month. So, I don't know. Maybe I didn't sleep well. Or maybe I slept too well. Either way. Yeah, I think that's a report. You guys take care. We'll talk soon. And we'll have monthly closes on Sunday to try and figure out where we are and how we'll be positioned for the end of Q1, which I fully expect the Federal Reserve in Q1 at the March meeting to do something to shift the current dynamics back in their direction. They're talking tough now that they're not going to lower rates, but yeah, let's see. 2 more weeks worth of coronavirus stuff, and we'll see what the Fed has to say. All right, you guys take care. You be well. We'll talk soon. Keep your stick on the ice.